I have faith, but we are moving a crowd around like this massive auditorium that we're trying to fill up.
I wanted it to be stormy and gross. That would have been harder to shoot.
The safety guy that was with HT was grabbing him by the shirt and pulling him back.
Founded in 1999 by Jason Burks, Retrospec Films is Oklahoma's largest turnkey production company of its kind. With a full-time team of over 20 talented individuals, a 12,000 square foot studio to create in, and a resume that spans some of the world's largest brands, if you love learning about filmmaking and storytelling, you've come to the right place. On each episode, we discuss the pursuit of creating things and the problems we solve by digging up projects from the last 20 years, giving you a glimpse behind the scenes where the magic happens. You're listening to Retrospec Films from the archives.
Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us on Retrospec from the archives. This is our in-house podcast where we dig up projects from the past and talk about all the different problems we solved along the way. As you may or may not know, there are a lot of problems in filmmaking, from writing, logistics, camera selecting, casting, locations, shooting, editing, music, props, wardrobe, hair and makeup. I just said that one twice. Makeup, a lot. It's a lot. So today, joining me is Caroline the Rice.
He always does this.
Nice.
Sorry.
He feels like there's supposed to be a the.
Caroline the Rice.
But not for Joel. Just Joel.
Nah,
Rice.
Joel's just
Caroline
Joel.
the Rice.
Yeah, Caroline the Rice.
Yep.
Would you like to introduce yourself? No, I'll introduce you a little bit.
Okay. I'm
Caroline is director in training, but you've
Yes.
directed some things.
Yes.
A writer, a dancer, a singer.
Yep.
A romantic.
Romantic. I'm married, so yeah.
Such a romantic. How else would you like to talk about yourself?
I think you nailed it. Yeah, writer, creative development, creative strategist is kind of what I've become here at Retro.
You're very articulate.
Thank you.
You're an articulator.
Thank you. Communicator. I do love to communicate.
You love to communicate.
Over-communicate.
And then Jacob the Hightower.
The
Did you see how that worked there?
Middle name.
name.
Yeah,
Yep.
Jacob the Hightower, of which everyone thinks you self-named your last name. They're like, "Is that your real last name?"
Yeah, is that your nickname?
How'd you get
You're not
that?
even tall.
I'm like,
And
he
What?
was born with it. Yeah,
Yeah.
people always say that. It's really
they're
funny.
like,
Weird.
you know,
I'm like,
they
it's
think
his
like,
last name, Dill.
Yeah.
So Jacob, cinematographer,
Yep.
director, writer. You don't get to write a lot,
Yeah.
but you like writing.
Yeah.
Actor. Trying to think, is there? I like to claim custodian, but if I wasn't the custodian, you would be.
Builder.
Custodian,
for sure.
builder, handyman.
Handyman.
Set design.
Honestly, sometimes that's that's the best thing in life, where
Yeah.
you can just go mop a floor.
Yeah, I mean, actually, it's like I say, filmmaking is just glorified moving company.
Yeah.
We
True.
get paid more than movers, but that's actually all that we do.
It's a lot of moving
We
crap
just
to one-
move
one
cameras
place.
and humans and
Expensive
we
stuff.
do stuff, and then we move it somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's
So.
fair.
I think the algorithm said that our intros are too long, and I'm ruining all our viewership.
Yeah, this is bad, but it's all right. We'll keep it in. Maybe.
Apologies.
They
If
can
you
cut
like
it.
us, you're still here. If not, you're gone.
We're so annoying right now.
We're so annoying.
That's
So
okay.
today we're going to talk about a project with one of our absolute favorite clients, AAON, and this is a unique project that is titled Boundless.
Take your mark.
They told me that I'm too slow, that I'd never make the cut.
They told me it was a waste of time, that the sacrifice wouldn't be worth it.
That the cure to something incurable wasn't worth the effort.
That the view at the top was something I'd never see.
But greatness is not achieved by accepting limits.
Greatness is found in the practice, trying, failing, but then trying again.
From putting in the work,
From changing the way you think.
From reaching your breaking point, but then pushing further.
Achieving and rising above the ordinary to become extraordinary.
was a waste of time. But next time, the crowd will be bigger.
The stakes will be higher.
The reach will be wider.
The mountain will be tougher.
And we will remain boundless.
Now, I don't know, did the word boundless itself come from AAON?
It did, yes.
Okay.
That was their theme for their annual meeting and for
Okay.
their 2025 annual report.
So
we had to write to it, basically.
Caroline worked on a concept here, and then Taylor did the writing. Let's start with that phase.
Yeah.
Take us back. What is Boundless? What is this annual meeting? Why does this video matter?
Yeah, so AAON has an annual meeting every year where they invite, well, not every year, every couple of years, where they invite all their sales reps to just come and be inspired and learn about new products, all that stuff. It's very exciting, very big deal to them. And so they wanted to open the video with something really anthemic and inspiring, and they knew that the theme of the event was boundless. And so they kind of partnered with us to figure out what that would look like. And I met with some marketing team members, and we kind of threw some ideas around, but we really like the idea of highlighting people that are end users for AAON, so customers, somehow in the story. And so we wanted to weave multiple narratives together. So if you watch the video, you'll see there's like a swimmer, there's somebody in a theater, there's people at AAON, there's people on a mountain. So we wanted to show some end users, some customers, which would be the theater and the swimmer, athletic center, theaters. And then we also wanted to use a symbolic metaphor, which would be the mountain, as kind of this boundless nature of reaching limits and doing what other people can't do, kind of. And then, of course, we wanted to showcase their own people at AAON. So we had kind of these different worlds that we were exploring.
And the chopper.
Oh, and the chopper, yeah, the ending, installment. And so we had these different narratives that we were kind of weaving together. And, yeah, the marketing team really helped come up with that idea. And then I kind of finessed it from there and worked with Taylor. And we got a really clear vision and a really dialed-in storyboard. And then HT took the baton and made it beautiful.
It's awesome.
I mean, yeah, it's really easier to do. I'm not going to say easy because it's never easy, but it's easier to do when the things, all the processes at the first have been talked about, and you're talking, boundless was already the word used, and yeah, they create these storyboards and the script and everything, and so I study up on those and just try to bring those visions that everybody had to fruition and try to bring it to life. And that it's a process in itself. So
let's talk about a little bit of the locations as we dive through what this was. So I'll say the ones I guess that I know, but feel free to dive in. I know we did a mountain. I'll talk about that one.
Yeah.
But not quite yet.
that was fun.
That was my nerdy little one location.
So fun.
Some of the other locations. A swimming pool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you said that was intentional.
Yes. Yeah. So some of their customers, have athletic centers or like gyms,
Yeah.
or schools as well. And that was technically like a swimming pool at a school.
Okay.
And so we were trying to kind of nod to those things.
Okay.
And then also show something that was epic. So this kid swimming and
and
racing.
competition.
We had a performing arts center.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what'd you actually use?
That was the Broken Arrow PAC.
Nice.
And it was very nice. That was my
beautiful.
first time seeing it, and an amazing space.
Very big. So we had to comp a bunch of fake
very
people.
massive. So yeah, we had to do some creative
Yeah.
camera techniques and tricks to visual effects people in crowds. We had to get different different shots of a group of people here, move them over to here.
Yeah.
And, Cole, took that one home, and he
rocked
loves doing
it.
that stuff, just planting people over here. I think he was even in the audience.
He was an extra as well, directing the extras to make it all work together.
Yeah,
and magical.
it was pretty fun. And
Yeah.
that for me was kind of a first on doing a shot like that, because I'm like sitting here, I'm like, this is gonna work, right, guys? Like, I'm like, I have
I'm
faith.
putting it in your hands.
I have faith, but we are moving a crowd around like this massive auditorium that we're
Yeah.
trying to fill up. We had like 40 extras maybe, and
There were like thousands
I
of
think
seats.
there was it's like a 12 to 1,600 seat
Yeah.
auditorium. So
So those were both in Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Then you guys both flew to Los Angeles
Yes.
to shoot another scene. Tell me about that scene.
So they were doing a helicopter install where they were basically installing, I think, about 12 AAON units onto the top of a Costco. And so we wanted to film the actual like end goal, which is getting AAON's product to their customer. But we wanted to do it in an epic way. So we like waited and kept bugging the marketing team, like, when is a helicopter install happening? Because we just knew we wanted that shot.
Yeah.
And then HT got up on the roof and got the shot, man.
Well, yeah, me and Jessica got up on the roof, and then
We were on the
Joel
ground.
and Caroline were on the ground. Joel was doing some drone stuff from the ground. I will say that was a super complicated scenario
So
because
complicated.
safety
Yeah.
is I mean, you have 5 different guys going through these safety protocols, and then you're a guy with a camera from Oklahoma, and they're like, what's this guy doing on our roof?
Yep.
And so I had to kind of just come in and, let them know that I've been in these scenarios. I've been on oil rigs. I've actually done helicopter evacuation training underwater. And so I think when I said that to the pilot, he was like, okay, yeah.
You absolutely convinced him.
Yes.
It was like a 90% no.
There was
And then you
there was
flipped
like
it.
a moment that we weren't getting on that roof, and I'm like, I've got to get this shot. I'm like, I flew all the way from Oklahoma to get
Yeah.
this shot. You're doing your job. I'm just trying to do my job. And I used some leverage to convince the safety guy to let us up on the roof. And honestly, he was awesome, and I totally get his approach.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I'm all about safety too. I think that's huge, but sometimes to get the shot, you have to be right up there with the crew. You have to get in. You have to feel all of the things that they feel to get that emotion.
Yeah. It was so funny because we were flying the drone, and you could see on the roof the like safety guy that was with HT was like grabbing him by the shirt and like pulling him back
Yeah.
because he could
Well,
only get so close.
We had an understanding. I said, I'm gonna try to get as close as possible.
Yep.
And you bring me down when I'm too close. Like, you bring
Yeah.
me back when I'm too close. And that was our agreement. And so I would move in. He'd be like, we can't really talk because
Yeah.
the
Too
helicopter's so
loud, yeah.
loud. So he would just hand on shirt and guide me back. And I'm like, okay, yep, I'm too close.
Yep.
But the very last one, he was like, hey, when it gets head level, just run in there. They're not going to say anything. So just do it. And so that's when I got in and got like up with the crew. And I'm pretty
Nice.
sure that's the shot
That's what
that
got
made
used.
it.
Yep.
The
Yep.
very last install.
I'm thankful
Yeah.
for that.
And then I think the last location had been the mountain, yeah?
Yeah, there were some side locations of like a gym and then a house that we were in, but
Yeah.
the one worth talking about would be the mountain.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess I'll talk a little bit about the mountain one. So this in the video was the only scene that I directed.
It was beautiful.
And
Yeah.
Hightower you were in that one.
I was.
So
I was in it.
You had to be the mountaineer, so
Yeah.
you couldn't direct that one.
Well, I would put me as the guy they were dragging up the mountain.
the sick mountaineer.
Yeah, and I was like,
Yeah.
well, actually, I think, in the AAON multiverse, I'm in a couple other videos as an engineer.
Yeah.
So
You
I was
are.
like, I was the engineer that
went-
wasn't experienced on the mountains
Exactly.
that got to go up
Yeah.
and experience that boundless,
Yeah.
And that one was kind of funny because I feel like, I mean, me, myself, being a mountaineer, you have all these, like, particularities that you can get all hung up in your head over. And I was feeling those because I was like, oh, I hate it when I watch, like, I mean, anything rock climbing or mountaineering and they kind of put, like, they're using the wrong ropes or you wouldn't use that gear in that environment, but they try to make it look cool. And you're like, this is so annoying because you don't use that gear in that environment. And in my head, even though I know nobody was as picky as me, I kept thinking, we're going for like Alpine, like we're
Yeah.
going for like Alaska. That's what we're looking for here, not like 14er in Colorado. It's just different. And it just happened to be the right time of year. And there was still snow. I think it was late spring
It
last
was like
year,
the end
early
of
summer.
January.
Oh, it was
Because
winter.
you guys were there for Royal
Oh, that's right, it was-
Because I was nervous about your safety.
That's right. It was freezing cold. Okay. So
Was that long ago?
yeah. So we were like, how can we mobilize equipment and shoot on a mountaintop that looks epic and looks alpine, but we can do it because so many of these mountains, we can't go hike 10 hours up a mountain and then film.
Right.
And
Be
so
dead.
yeah, so we juggled a few things, and I was like, you know what? I think Loveland Pass would be a good idea because we can drive to almost 11,000. We can get out of the car. Snicktow is on the other side, and I was like, let's do that. I know we can do that. We got over there, and like Taylor like pointed across the street, and she's like, what about that mountain? And I was like, I was like, yeah, it looks way cooler, but I don't know that mountain. I've never climbed it. I'm kind of hesitant to just say, sure. It turned out, though, it was funny because it had features of a larger mountain, but it was actually smaller.
So you did go over there.
We did.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we
that
did.
You changed it up.
And we went over there, and it was so funny because as we got on it, I was like, oh, this is great. This is good. This is good. This is good. And as we even got to the summit, it was like so much better than where I wanted to go originally. And the drone footage just was, I was having a blast. Like I pull it out and just like, oh, this is all my dreams. You know, I'm just like flying. And, you know, one of the sides of the summit had like probably 400 feet of fall off from just snow coming off the edge. And yeah, it looked really awesome. Like I was super stoked on that. It was freezing. Like it was hard to film because like just like clicking buttons and it was very cold, but
Probably hard to see too.
yeah, it was a little hard to see. You know, there was like, because it was bright, the sun was out.
yeah.
You
It
know.
looks very bright.
I was hoping,
it,
I
but-
wanted it to be stormy and gross. That would have been harder to shoot, but it did end up being sunny and freezing, but temperature doesn't show in video footage.
Yeah.
Right. Bummer.
Yeah, bummer. In the construction of this, you know, and keeping in mind that AAON is a very significant client to us, we just want to do a great job for them. They're a huge international company, and everything they do matters, and thus everything that we do for them needs to really be important. I think it was probably, I mean, I guess honestly it was you, me, and Taylor that were all kind of the annoying driving forces in post-production.
Yeah.
They were like, it has to be amazing. And of course, you know, I sort of sit back and let you guys, you know, do your thing. And then if not that it wasn't going in a good direction, but
Right.
eventually I'm going to come in and be like, awesome, or do more. Kyle was editor on this. And I, you know, I wouldn't say it wasn't going great. I just know that we kept all giving input to make
There
it
was
better.
like a particular love, I think, for this story and just for the experience. I mean, God, we just talked about how many shoot days that we poured
yeah.
into
Who even knows?
capturing this footage. And so it was just like, we want this edit to just give you chills.
It has
you
to
know
be
what I mean?
great.
And so
Yeah.
I think that's what we kept pushing for. It wasn't that it wasn't great. It was just like, how do we get that extra shimmer, you
Yeah.
know?
I think the whole word boundless was in the back of all of our minds on this, on shooting it,
Yeah,
editing.
just the name.
Yeah, it's pushing past what's good and getting
Yeah.
to what's great, and that's what I feel achieved on this, and you know that's what this whole thing is about and it's not just you know, boundless is just a word. It's an emotion, it's a feeling, and it's something that it was in the back of my mind on shooting a lot of this. I mean, even going up the mountain, I almost didn't do it that day because I would say I was pretty sick. And so I was like, but if there's only two people, and I just kept going, I've got to go up this mountain. And so that boundless just kept ringing, and I think it's awesome that they've tried to capture that. So
Yeah, it was fun. HT and I both got to be at the event that this actually played at.
Mm-hmm.
And so we don't normally get to like see our work in its intended use if it's an event sort of,
Sure.
you know what I mean? So that was really special too, to just like feel the emotions work
Did
in
they
the room.
did they turn the volume up enough?
I believe so. Yeah, their sound guys were really good.
yeah, it was in an awesome theater
It
as
was
well.
beautiful.
Yeah.
But that's always really cool to kind of just see the payoff and
Yeah.
like, okay, all of those extra hours were worth it, and hopefully this inspires this group of people to go and, you know, do their best for AAON and support them in the way that they have to make them successful. It's just a really important event, and I think we nailed it.
I'm curious, being at the very beginning and then through the whole middle and then all the way to the end. How do you feel like it turned out from the initial ask to what we created?
That's a good question. I definitely think it evolved, but like for the better. I think it became maybe like more organic than it was going to be originally. Like I think when we were first talking about it, we were really focused on like transitioning from one world to the other and like packing it jam full of like these cool transitions. But it kind of ended up just being more about the emotion, which I think was the right move. And kind of the scenes were a little bit longer than maybe we originally were thinking. But yeah, it was fun. I mean, we went through lots of different song choices, lots of different coloring styles. Obviously, lots of different selects. Like, do we want this helicopter shot, or do we think this is more epic? Do we want to go with the GoPro shot? Does that feel right? You know, there were a lot of creative choices made along the way, but Well, I mean, I still watch this video a lot because I'm really proud of it, and it
Yeah.
took so long to create. And yeah, I think we nailed it, and I get those chills now, and so it was worth all those little nitty gritty choices.
It's great. Well, I think it's a prime example of teamwork at its finest, because it is kind of tricky to, like, even you and I had to deal with some like cinematography things, which you were on the mountain, so you knew how I shot, but like I shot with a small camera with a prime lens because we were on the mountain. And then the style, I mean, I couldn't drag a slider up there. It was handheld. And I had a drone, and then, you know, you had your cinematography choices when you were shooting the other stuff. The reality is that like, creative work, it's truly, truly difficult to share the workload. I mean,
That's so true.
For anyone that's ever painted a painting, like, who's ever painted a great painting and halfway through handed off their paintbrush to someone else, and then that person stopped halfway through and handed their paintbrush to
That's exactly what we do.
Yeah, it would turn into a mess.
Yeah.
Because the amount of chemistry and selflessness and communication that's necessary is actually really hard to find anywhere. Like I mean, even here, like, not that this is about this, but like one of my number one focuses is the culture, because the culture is, do we communicate well? Do we like each other? Do we get each other? Do we communicate heavily with each other? Do we like to communicate with each other? Because if we don't, it doesn't work.
Our work is going to be bad.
Yeah, and it's often that ego gets in the way of creative.
Yeah.
And I do believe here that we all share, even if it's a different idea or opinion, we listen and we look at that as an option. Maybe it's not the right option, but we go through and we figure it out. And I've never been one to just say it's this way or no way.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, unless there is a definitive reason in my heart why I think that, and then I'll state my case. But other than that, I mean, that's what I feel like. You can get more creative and you can do bigger and better things when you're able to hand off that paintbrush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get another brain on it.
Yeah.
I've always said that, you know, you really don't have the opportunity to truly be creative until you have parameters. And so many people like to think like, I just need no walls around me. And it's like, well, that's not creativity. Like, when there's no parameters and you can come up with anything, well, cool, anybody can do that.
Right.
Yeah.
But where you really find creativity is with limitation.
Yeah.
And limitation is where you have to problem solve and be actually creative.
Yeah, I actually
you know?
love that so much.
Yeah. So, well, we appreciate you guys joining us as we talk about this little Boundless project for our favorite HVAC company on planet Earth. If you enjoyed what you watched, our season 1, we have almost 50 episodes of this podcast. We're in our season 2 right now, and in the early episodes of it. But we appreciate you being here. Feel free to check out our website too, retrospecfilms.com, and we'll see you in the future. Peace.
See ya.